All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Tommy's Take. So, if you watched the debate between Candace Owens and Andrew Wilson, you probably remember uh, him making some pretty strong claims about Turning Point USA. Um, but now we have this video that I want to show. It's from Jimmy Dore. We have a former TPUSA insider that speaks out, and what she has to say, it raises some serious questions about Andrew Wilson's story. And we already knew that this guy was not debating in good faith. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look at what Andrew said about that text message that he mentioned early on in the debate in his intro that he supposedly received, and what he claimed about TPUSA being open to questioning, being open to people who come to them with questions. And then we're going to also hear somebody who actually worked inside the organization but was fired. Now I'm going to play the clips and we'll stop along the way and give you my take on what we're hearing. Because if Andrew Wilson wasn't telling the truth, which I think we have a pretty good inclination that he wasn't. If he wasn't telling the truth during that debate, I think that changes the way we should look at a whole lot of what was said, and even TPUSA. We already know TPUSA is sketchy, but this is really, really, really bad. It's a really bad look PR wise for TPUSA. So let's go ahead and play the video.
To get something off my chest that's bothering me so much right now about something that Andrew said, which is Andrew mentioned that he reached out to Turning Point in good faith and received an answer regarding Charlie's text messages back and forth with the security team. And he was saying, oh, just such a shocker how when you reach out in good faith, like they might actually respond. Well, as the sole individual who was handling the press@tpusa.com email inbox for months on end prior to Charlie's assassination and after, there were a few other people who handled it too, but I had access to the entire thing after Charlie's assassination. There were so many people who reached out in good faith, both reporters, reputable reporters, and just normie individuals just from around the world who reached out in very good faith with just these kind of similar and questions.
This is how you know that TPUSA is full of it. They're so full of it. It's not just Candace Owens. It's so many people. So many people have had questions about what has really happened. What has really happened with this assassination and the way TPUSA was so quick to make Tyler Robinson the guilty party, the assassin. And then if you just throw in what Joe Kent has to say about there were potential leads that foreign entities might have been involved, and the FBI shut that down and told Joe Kent essentially, no, FBI's out, you're out, we're going to leave it up to Utah State Police. That's crazy. That's crazy. And TPUSA is running with this narrative that Tyler Robinson is guilty, and there's very little evidence. And watching the preliminary trial, you could see that there's very little evidence, blurry videos, just the whole mess. Let's continue.
And we were told explicitly, like, you don't respond to these people. Like, we didn't respond to any of them.
So a TPUSA whistleblower has come out to, again, if there's like Andrew Wilson was the worst Mr. Master debater. First of all, at the beginning of his thing, he said that he was supposed to defend his position was that there was overwhelming evidence. So when you have a debate, you have to say what your claim is, and then you have to defend it. And his was that there was overwhelming evidence. In the first 5 minutes, he reads his opening statement, and PBD says to him, well, what percent? Because he's a numbers guy. He says, what percent are you convinced that he's guilty, Tyler Robinson? And he goes 75, maybe 85%. That's not overwhelming. That's you just out debated yourself. You just revealed. That's barely whelming. You know what that's called? That's called reasonable doubt.
Exactly.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform.
That's what that's called. You saying there's reasonable doubt that I can't believe I missed that. But I did miss it, and I had Baron Coleman pointed it out when I was watching his show that he blew it at the top of the show. He admitted that he didn't, and then he redefined what overwhelming meant, and he said, well, it just means that I'm convinced. No, that's not what overwhelming means. Overwhelming means that you're convinced. You could be convinced on 10% of the evidence. That doesn't mean that. So anyway, but he admitted that he has reasonable doubt because 75%. So I just want to get that off my chest. But I'm showing you this to show that. And then he lied about having that text message from Charlie Kirk on September 9th saying and now here he is. He's going to read you and listen to what he says because a TPUSA insider who has knowledge is completely saying that he's lying when he says this. Let's watch.
Field. On September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site. Charlie responded with this. Okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only.
Okay, that doesn't sound like anything Charlie Kirk would ever say. First of all, because he didn't say this because this text is made up.
If he did say it, that's kind of incriminating at the security team.
Yeah, 100%. So, and then he goes on to say this.
Because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September 9th.
And so with Charlie Kirk, from what I understand, he always dealt with the left, and he always, with Candace, they went on tour all the time speaking to college students who are predominantly from the left. He never seemed to be worried about them in that sense. Never seemed to be worried about them in that sense. So when I first watched this debate, I was like, had my eyebrow raised at this, especially the fact that he's reading from his phone, for like 6-7 minutes, reading from his phone for his intro.
Now he's making that up. He made up a lot of stuff. He just outright lied about a lot of stuff. And that's one of them. And then when he was asked to show that text, well, how do we know you're not making that up? Because he was. And so they asked him to show it. And this is what he said.
Okay. Is that when you gave her the hug?
Yeah, gave her the hug right there. My wife did too. We were both very sorry for what happened.
Okay, so at what point did you start receiving text messages from that you cited in your opening statement?
I just reached out to TPUSA and said, I'm prepping for a debate. Is there anything that's pertinent that I can use here?
Do you find it interesting that people have been asking for, basic answers to questions, and you're saying that you walked into their headquarters and reached out and they instantly... It's
amazing, isn't it? If you reach out in good faith and you're not demonizing them and saying that they're complicit in the murder of people's deaths, that perhaps they're actually willing to release things to you that are pertinent, other than thinking that, perhaps you're diabolical.
Well, I don't know. I feel like if I was going to release that information, I didn't demand that it be released to me.
So his foot he's tapping out in Morse code right there. She's kicking my ass. Help, I'm going down.
In good faith.
I don't know. Usually when someone taps their foot, so when I first watched this and I saw his foot, that's one of the first things I noticed is why does he keep shaking like that? And I thought about like nicotine withdrawal or something. I know he's a chain smoker. But you got to have a level of awareness with you where you're not doing something like that. If you've ever been to like nerve-wracking situations like an interview, right? And you keep your hands together maybe, and you keep your feet flat on the floor. You got to be very aware in these situations that you come across as confident. Right? You ever approach a girl, you don't want to be fidgety, right? Cold call a girl, you don't want to be fidgety. So this guy in front of millions and millions of people, of viewers, is fidgeting with his ear, is shaking a lot, just shaking a lot. His foot, it just looks bad. It looks like you're not ready for the moment. It looks like you're afraid of something. It just doesn't look like you're confident in what you have to bring. And so those of us who watched the interview know that he didn't really defend his position at all, but he was just sent there to attack candidates and to be an advocate for Erica and TPUSA and Israel.
Actually never demanded that it be released. I just simply said that this is what was going on in the last 48 hours. Maybe to the media they could release it. They could release it to PBD. They decided to release it to a guy that called Erica too retarded in June.
So what?
Yeah, I just think it kind of shows that Turning Point is sending you as their horse.
Well, I don't know.
They don't have the courage to have the conversation.
Like, I don't.
If they
see
were
this,
just releasing something in good faith to answer questions,
do you have any
I've never
evidence of that
demanded.
claim?
It's not evidence that
No.
you're sharing your opinion
No.
that she's too retarded. I can't share my opinion that I think it's going
Well,
to
I never
register
met the
as
chick.
really obvious to the public. That rather than presenting that throughout the course of
I never met the chick. I think that's what he said. I never met the chick, which I believe, didn't he say he hugged her in the hallway or something like that? But he just said he never met the chick. I don't know.
of everybody wanting to know what Charlie was going through his last days, they decided to give it to you to come to my house as some sort of a surprise.
Well,
do you think the public's not smart enough to see through that?
Do you think that if
It's
you
talking
know
about terrible PR,
if you know that there's a huge debate that's coming up that's going to be probably one of the most viewed that year, and one of the debaters calls you and says, I'm taking this position. This is the position that I feel like there's the most evidence for. And Candace also agreed to answer many of my questions in regards to this. So if you got pertinent evidence here that I can use, I definitely like take a look.
What is
It was actually amazing to me. It really was actually amazing to me how if you approach people in good faith and just say, hey, I'd actually like to know what the facts and details are around this, they actually do talk to you.
How many times is he going to say that? How many times is he going to try to say, when you say things a lot and then it gets people to start believing it. And I think that's what he's trying to do. He wants people, the audience, the viewers to believe that TPUSA, is a transparent organization, which we know they're not.
So that's his tell when he's lying is he laughs.
Yeah.
So when he knows he's lying, that's his tell. He laughs, right? And another thing is, and this guy, the idea that this guy, the most transparent used car salesman I've ever seen in my life, is approaching anybody in good faith, is a joke on itself, because this guy is doing this for money. He lied about being paid by TPUSA. Remember how he tried to lie? He goes, I haven't received any money from TPUSA minus the money they gave me to teach them how to debate. So minus the money they gave me for fake, for fake debate training. They haven't. So they gave you money under the guise of debate training. And if this is your debate skills, I understand why nobody believes a thing TPUSA is saying, because you're the most transparent used car salesman in the world. And so now why do I go ahead, Kurt? You want to say something?
Don't agree to a no smoking debate. And if you listen to Rogan, he puts us in a room together. It's going to be full smoking. I want to assure you of that. So smoke that room up.
So the reason I show you all this was because what he just said about, well, if you approach people in good faith. So his laugh is his tell when he's lying. This was a hit job. They wanted to get him to first exonerate Israel, which he did in his opening statement. And then they wanted to get him to corner Candace into saying something defamatory that they could that they could use in civil court case against her, and she was too smart for it. And she said, "I'm not going to get myself in a legal pickle." And I think she said "pickle" to remind everybody he couldn't open up a jar of pickles. But
is that true?
Yes, you don't know the jar of pickles thing?
No.
Are you kidding me, Kurt?
This is news to me.
All right, we're going to show you that in a second. So, so this woman comes out. She's a TPUSA insider, and Lionel says it's unraveling. The silence has ceased, the intimidation, the threats, it's all over. Again, watching the unraveling, the undoing, watching the disentanglement of TPUSA and all of its attendant strata. Sorry. Brace yourself, Sparky. This is going to be big. So this is an insider going to tell you what he just said. It's obviously he's lying, but she's going to give you the proof that he's lying with her eyewitness testimony from inside TPUSA. Let's listen.
Sick of paying for hours you aren't even sure your team actually worked? See this little sticker tag from Connect Team? It's going to save you tens of thousands.
I haven't had the opportunity to finish the Candace Owens and Andrew Wilson debate in its entirety yet, but I'm a little more than halfway through, and I just have to get something off my chest. It's bothering me so much right now about something that Andrew said, which is Andrew mentioned that he
Yeah, get off your chest, girl. Get off your chest.
reached out to Turning Point in good faith and received an answer regarding Charlie's text messages back and forth with the security team. And he was saying, oh, just such a shocker how when you reach out in good faith, like they might actually respond. Well, as the sole individual who was handling the press@tpusa.com email inbox for months on end prior to Charlie's assassination and after, there were a few other people who handled it too, but I had access to the entire thing after Charlie's assassination. There were so many people who reached out in good faith, both reporters, reputable reporters, and just normie individuals just from around the world who reached out in very good faith with just these kind of similar and questions. And we were told explicitly, like, you don't respond to these people. Like, we didn't respond to any of them. And then, so that's number one. Number two is that.
So lots of reputable reporters reached out in good faith, and she was instructed by TPUSA that you don't respond to any of them. So what Andrew Wilson just said is, again, another abject lie. He was lying about having that text message from Charlie Kirk, and he's lying about that if you just reached out in good, and that's his tell is when he laughs.
Okay, but
This is the thing. Like, so much of the establishment, the media establishment, even many podcasters who supposedly are independent are believing the TPUSA narrative, are believing that TPUSA is acting in good faith and that TPUSA is not lying, hasn't lied, isn't covering things up, isn't acting shady, right? If maybe you don't believe that TPUSA was involved or complicit or had foreknowledge and knowledge that Charlie Kirk's assassination, but at least you could be highly critical of how they've conducted themselves since then. It's just so apparent that everybody sees it, and that for the establishment media and for podcasters not to really really put the pressure on them, and for them to still be an organization running at this point is it says a lot about where we are in this country and how much further we need to go to actually, be, how do you say, free from this type of nonsense and to really get our country back. But yeah, let's continue.
Argument alone. Let's say he was telling the truth about that, which he's not. Who gives a shit if I asked in good faith or not? If you asked me in bad faith and I had that text, which clearly says Charlie was worried about the left and not Israel,
why wouldn't you release it
before you even asked me?
Why? That's right. Why wouldn't you just post it? Why would you wait for someone to ask? Why?
Good faith? I don't have no faith in TPUSA.
As Candace said, why wouldn't you give it to somebody like PBD? Why wouldn't you give it to a real reporter? Why wouldn't you give it to the New York Times or whoever? Why wouldn't you release that? That does exactly what Kurt's saying. You don't wait for somebody to ask you. You release it. So so that's how you know it's all a big lie. So she's saying that real reporters with credibility reached out in good faith, and they were instructed that you don't even answer them. So that proves Andrew Wilson a liar again. But
the idea he put up 300,000 himself.
It's not his again.
He's just raring to defend Israel. On the face of it, that's an obvious lie.
Yes. He got the 300 grand from Zionist donors or TPUSA or somebody like that. So that's the first part. So we already established that he's an abject liar, transparent used car salesman, a sweaty, foot tapping liar. But let's watch this. Here's the second part. Gets even worse. Watch this.
When I was fired, I actually mentioned to Turning Point leadership, both to Andrew Colvett and Marina Minas, that there were staff who were concerned about 9/10, who had questions and who certainly were asking these things in good faith. I mean, these people had uplifted their lives, moved across the country, put off school, done all kinds of things to work for Turning Point. Those people were always acting in good faith, and they had questions too. And it was an environment that was not safe to be asking those questions. And certainly I'm a product of that. So just wanted to put that out there. I'm calling BS on this one for Andrew.
So they were getting rid of anybody who had questions about 9/10.
Yeah, if you remember, I don't know exactly when, but many months ago, several months ago, there was a purge. There was a TPUSA purge. Erica Kirk, she used to say things like, "Oh, TPUSA is my family. When I go to work, I'm with my family." But then there was the TPUSA purge. There's also this, according to the insider, that you're not allowed to speak up. You're not allowed to raise concerns or ask questions about what's really going on. So um, it's been all a disaster for TPUSA, a whole disaster.
His assassination, they were firing them. We already covered that. A woman said something to an Uber driver, and they fired her over what she said to an Uber driver. One of the person who was working 20-hour shifts and stuff for them and all that stuff after Charlie's death, and they didn't care. And so now we have another TPUSA insider saying that's a lie. Lots of people reached out in good faith. Not only that, but people who worked for Turning Point, who supported Turning Point, who upended their whole life to go work for them, they had questions of good faith, and you were not allowed. So I just wanted to show you that. Anything you want to add to this, Kurt?
I just am blown away by the idea that $300,000 to debate Candace Owens.
Yeah, we'll stop it right there. But just wanted to just kind of show what the insider had to say there and concerning Andrew Wilson's claim or assertion that TPUSA is a transparent organization, that if you approach them with sincerity, that they're gonna divulge information to you. But we know it's not true. Erica Kirk met with Candace Owens many months ago, I believe in December, and straight up, according to Candace, well, it's a fact that she lied. She lied to Candace, and they've been lying ever since. And at some point, all these lies are going to destroy this organization. Okay, so yeah, that's the video for today, guys. Thank you for watching Tommy's Take. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video and share the video. See you next time. Peace.